start. Hi guys, welcome back to Job and the Librarians. My name is Ericka. I am a young adult librarian.
And I'm Lauren. I am a reference librarian.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about The Problem with Forever by Jennifer Armentrout. This story is about Mallory who suffers from not being able to really talk as much, or she doesn't talk as much, and it comes from PTSD from when she was in foster care. It was very abusive mentally and physically, foster care. And something horrific happened one night where it caused her to have bad burns, and she ended up in the hospital. And the two doctors there that worked on her, adopted her, and she had been living with them for 3 years, homeschool. In her last year, her senior year, she decided to go to a public school. And once on her first day of school, she runs into Ryder, who used to basically protect her from being, tried to prevent her from being physically abused when she was living in foster care. And the story just kind of takes off from there.
I will say this. I I'm going to start with saying I gave the book 3 stars. Just because I thought it ended up being a middle of the road book, unfortunately. But that said, it's probably the best of the middle of the road books that I've read this month. And I had to give the author a lot of credit in that she um basically didn't talk down to the teenagers in this book. Like you read a lot of YA where it feels like you're trying to make the book at a level that they could understand, and then you end up being a bit condescending in it. And no, this author definitely wrote at a decent level and kind of had the expectation that you were going to meet her there.
Right, I agree. I This is not my first time reading her. She's actually one of my favorite authors, but she writes a lot of new adult, and that's what I prefer to go to. And you can really tell the difference in the writing style from YA and new adult. But I really did like this story. I felt like it was a little bit longer than what it should have been, but I kind of like after reading it, I kind of understood why it was a little bit longer. I can talk about it a little bit later on, but I love the characters and I love the story. I gave it 4 stars, and I really felt like they're so likable and they grow within the story. And it's a very character driven story. Not a lot of action goes on except for one big horrific thing happens. But outside of that, it's very character driven, and it really hits on the teenagers of how that what they went through affected them so mentally. And it's a lot that could be covered in it, and it is a trigger warning. And it has, like I said, it suffers from mental abuse, physical abuse, PTSD, um, depression. All that stuff is mentioned in this
It
story.
hits like all the mentals.
Yeah, all of it. And I really feel like the author really did a good job of, writing it within the characters and how they handle themselves while trying to deal with what they were going through. And I really liked it. It was a lot. And like I said, I feel like the story, the only con with it is that it was long. But like I said, after I finished reading it, this is a story that kind of stayed with me after I got done reading it. And I understood a little bit why it had to be a little bit longer, because this is not a story that you can write characters where they solve their problems just like that. There had to be some kind of growth within these characters because there was a lot that they were going through. And ultimately, I think that is Ryder's story and not really Mallory's. What do you think?
Um, the funny thing is, I think it's their story in a way because they end up being so connected because of what happened and what you learn about them that it's their story really.
Yeah, and like I feel like he was always there for her and protecting her, and he was that person that always wanted to be the savior. He always wanted to help people, and he really wasn't, you know, paying attention to what it was doing to him mentally. He was depressed. You know, he was living in a foster home, and he didn't really realize how much they really did love him. And it's because he never had that, so he wasn't really able to recognize, you know, the love that they were giving him. And I think that with Mallory coming back into his life after 4 years, it helped him kind of, you know, to a point, it helped him realize that I am loved, and I needed her. Like, he needed her in his life to realize that as well. Like, she saved him instead of him saving her.
Well, and the funny thing is how you're describing their relationship makes me think of like how I reacted to Beautiful Oblivion when we read that at the beginning of the year. With I real like I know it's been months and months since we did that book, guys. It was like way back in February. But I mean, you have these characters that lived in this town that had known each other forever, and then just randomly run into each other one night and realize how much they care for each other and how much they needed each other in their lives.
Yeah. And like I said, and then like it does have romance, but I really feel like the romance didn't overtake the story like most YA novels do. It really just
Oh
focused
my
on.
god, yeah, in so many YA novels, it becomes almost like just so romance driven, but it's high school level romance where it's just like just annoying.
Yeah, and it just like the whole story focused on them getting better and being more. And I just want to review it for a book and how it is a character driven story, but the story seemed so one dimensional because there was no growth within the story from the very beginning to the end. And you can see the growth with at least Mallory. You can see the growth, and with Ryder, you know that it's gonna take time. And I also like that the author didn't just write an epilogue and he's just better, or it's done with. He's still struggling with it, and he's going to therapy. And I just feel like she took her time trying to write out the characters and the situations that they're going through. So this is a really good story. I highly recommend you read it. Like I said, she does write YA, not YA, new adult books too. And she has a very distinctive writing style. I really think if you were to have her writing without her name on it and another author, you can be able to differentiate between her writing style and someone else's. But I really appreciate the story that she wrote. I really love it, and I recommend it.
See, and the funny thing is, I it's not that I won't recommend this book to people. It's like we've said for other books is you can always find a good book in the genre. And I mean, I think that this is a decent book for new adults. I think I had two problems with it. The first is it while um, it is labeled new adult, it read very on the high end on of teen to me rather than adult. Like like it's almost like teen adult, just right on the cusp. Um, and and that put me off a little bit, unfortunately, just because I'm like, with all these topics and stuff, like it felt high school drama y while doing it to me. I mean, don't get me wrong, she wrote very well and gave the teens a lot of credit and said, I expect you to. I mean, that's why I keep saying she gives the teens credit because it read, like I said, kind of teenish to me. And but I mean, it's you go into this with the expectation it's a teen book, and then you see that if it is a teen book, she's got the expectation that you're going to meet her at her level, rather than her meeting you at yours, which is great. Like that's the kind of stuff that makes me excited to read in a weird way. Like I realize it's a really weird dynamic of being put off by reading a teen level book, but then being excited that the author wants you to meet him or her at your level. The other thing is it felt kind of draggy to me, in part because it was long, like you said. Like it was a little longer than it needed to be, but at the same time, again, this is one of those weird dynamics where it was longer than it needed to be, but it also needed to be this long to cover all the mental health stuff and to develop the characters.
Right. I didn't even see it. I didn't even know it was listed as a new adult. Um, that's probably why. I think if I would have known it, then I probably would agree with you on that part. But I didn't really see a lot of the typical teen. I mean, you had your you didn't even have a jock. You had the class clown, you had the queen bee, and you had the other little side characters, the best friends, and all of that. But I just saw mostly of what not drama, but there was teen drama. There were they was dealing with drug dealing, so like that, and it really wasn't a lot of talk on that. It gave you bits and pieces of it until they got to the ultimate part of okay, yeah, they were dealing with this because something happens, but it wasn't a lot of that, and you didn't really know to a certain point of how bad it was until they got to that point of what happened. I don't know. I don't want to tell it like right early on in the show.
Well, and for me, I guess the the way it read very teen to me was like you said, it had the shock, the class clown. So she attempted to do new things with very trope dynamics. But it's like when you read teen books, you see that. Like I had to read Struck by Lightning recently for a book club, and by Chris Colfer. And the funny thing is, everybody who went into the book club having watched the movie before reading the book loved the book because they were reading everything in the tone of the characters from the movie. Where those of us who came in having read the book before seeing the movie or without seeing the movie just saw all the tropes in it. We're like, yes, the character is sarcastic, but he reads like one of those bitchy little gay guys that we all know and drive us nuts. And the funny thing is, I'm sitting there going, no, he literally hit all these tropes. And people were like, but this character is not gay. I'm like, that's the problem, though, is you sit there and you will have a character say once in the book that he's not something or is something, but he doesn't read that way. And like I said, it's you could just for me, like you sit there and you kind of end up reading the jock like a jock and the clown like a clown, even when like the author is clearly trying to not make those that way.
Yeah, and I can see what you're saying about that part. I mean, it's like it wouldn't be a high school setting without all of those like that's like I guess needed.
Yeah, I
So
mean, but that said, like Armentrout, Jennifer Armentrout did this so much better than Chris Colfer did with playing with the tropes of high school.
yeah, this she wrote this really good, and I like it. So
Yeah, and whatever my issues are with the book aren't issues with Jennifer Armentrout's writing. And I know that we've come in here so many times going, if this author did X, Y, and Z better, or rather than doing this, maybe if you tried it like this, like so many times. I don't have those issues with this book. My issues are, I guess, more with just maybe my own mentality with the book.
mhm. Yeah, and like lately I have been reading new adult nonstop. So this was compared to what I have been reading a little bit lighter. It's not light, but it's lighter than what I've been reading.
Oh yeah,
But
this is like I mean, she tries to give it a fun tone to a lot of heavy stuff.
and I feel like that's a good transition into YA if you like drama type of books. This is a nice transition into YA.
But it's also a nice transition out of YA. If
Yeah,
that
it works both ways, you know. Um, yeah, she's just one of those, and like all of her books are like this. Really, it's just when it writes, it just flows, just so nice and easy. I mean, I'm just being biased because she's one of my favorite authors. I don't know, but I
I mean, I'm not even gonna lie. She's got a solid 4-star rating on Good. I mean, not she. This book has a solid 4-star rating on Goodreads. And looking at it, if you haven't read it, Goodreads labels it as young adult contemporary romance. And so you guys can kind of see why I'd go into this going, ooh, this could be something that, I rarely is for the entire show.
yeah, when I recommended it, I thought you would probably like it, even though it just got the vague subjects on it. But it's not. It didn't even really focus on the romance. It really just focused on their relationship of being there for each other and helping each other because they both went through so much and they both needed each other to help because they both understood each other. So that's what I
Yeah,
got from the book.
yeah, and the
But
thing is, I don't hate it. It's it's not my normal read, and like I said, to me, it was kind of like the best of the 3-star ratings that I've read this year, or at the very least this month.
yeah, and it did have some chapters to where it did drag out some. But like I said, when you finish reading the book, it stays with you. Like, oh, okay, well, I see kind of why this was like this. But it drags to the point of the climax of the story was when Ryder's foster brother got killed because he was dealing with drugs. He was only 15, and when I read that part, it broke my heart. And that was also Ryder's breaking point too, because right when Jaden got killed, it just offset a bunch of other things that he just had bottled up inside of him. And I feel like that's when it became Ryder's story. And Mallory was the one taking Ryder's place from the beginning. Like they flip roles within it.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, I kind of think it's in a weird way their story, because in some way, you kind of need it to flip a little bit toward, at least at that point, because initially she's the one that's doing all the growing, because I mean, she's come out of homeschooling, she's trying to learn to deal with the community in a sense, and now he's had this major impactful thing happen in his life, and now he's got to grow from it.
Yeah. And it's just, he was just had all this. In a nutshell, he was just depressed. And I really feel like if nothing would have happened, he probably would have still been living in that denial because he just kept saying he's fine, nothing is wrong, he'll be fine. And he needed that release too. And I just think that it was beautiful how it was written out like that. Like it's just, I, I just loved it. I keep saying that, but I did. I love this book so
Tell us how
much.
you really feel, Erica.
I do. I loved it. I'm gonna make you like this book. You read it wrong. That's what happened.
No, no, you need to reread this. I'll tell you exactly what you need to do to make this right.
But this is a book I know will stay with me because I'm still thinking about it. Like I'm still thinking about the characters, and I'm still thinking about what happened throughout the whole thing. And also Mallory had to not only separate herself, trying to grow from what she was. She's trying to create her own identity because her adoptive parents had a daughter, and she died in a car accident, I believe. And so they were basically living out their daughter's expectations through her because both of them were doctors, and she was going to school to be a doctor. And they really wasn't paying attention to her like she needed that, like she needed to be paid attention to.
I mean, like I said, this book will definitely give you the feels. It messes with your head a little bit. Like it hits so many levels of so many different things. Like you've got, as Erica referenced, somebody who's going through depression and is trying to I mean, everybody's trying to deal with a rough past. But you've got some people that are trying to get over the death of a child. And I mean, I knew somebody that lost a child years and years ago, and what they had told me or had told me as part of a group was that one of two things happens when you lose a child. You and your partner, your significant other, become closer, become stronger, and work your way through it, or it breaks you. And so you've got that. You've got somebody that's trying to, basically get over. You have a couple of people trying to get over the abuse of the past. You've got somebody that's trying to now deal with the death of a sibling. Like I could never imagine losing one of my siblings.
Right, I can't either. Just I
I
can't.
mean, I know I've threatened to take them out of this world, but I mean, yeah, I mean, I can't. I have no idea what it'd be like just to have one of them gone randomly.
Right, it's just I don't know. It's sad and it's bittersweet and it's just it will tug on all your little heartstrings from the beginning. And me, I knew something dramatic was going to happen. I didn't really know exactly who it would. Well, kind of did a little bit, but I wasn't sure because of it did do a build up of the drugs and the bad crowds within the story. But I just didn't think it would be the youngest out of the whole bunch that it would happen to.
Yeah,
And
there's just some moment during the course of a book.
wait, can you hear me?
Yes, now I can.
Okay. Okay, what just I didn't hear what you said. It had froze up a little bit.
Oh, sorry about that. My question was, is this how she normally writes with a build up and something dramatic happening?
Well, this one I can compare it to crap, I cannot think of the name of it, but it's a mystery, more so a mystery, about a girl who was something happened and she lost her memory and she just know that her boyfriend died or somebody died. I can't remember who. But she writes different ones. Most of her YA are like paranormal romances or something like that, and all of her new adult are kind of like contemporaries. So the new adult ones are basically typical college students. It's nothing really, you know, dramatic about it. Only with one of them, I think she got raped in one of them. That was the Rape for Me series, the very first one. I think it's called Wait for Me. But that's as far as I can remember, that's the only one. Oh, and then another one, it's a duology. The first one is Frigid, and I think the second one is Scorch. She has a drinking problem, so um, she does write some, situations that are very prominent and need to be addressed, and does have some characters that do have a lot of dealing with it. But for the majority part, her YA and new adult are two very different writing styles.
Okay. And I mean, considering this is the only book that I've read by her, I'm a little surprised that she does the paranormal romance.
Now, I will say this: I read her Obsidian books way back when, and I feel like if I read them now, I won't like them as much. They're just cheesy. It's about aliens, alien.
Aliens?
Yeah, in a nutshell, and they're called Lux or Lux. Yeah, Lux because they glow. But like I said, if I read it now, I probably
Wait, did
won't.
you just say they glow? Like how
Glow.
the vampires in Twilight glitter?
Yes, they have this glow about them where they're just this big ball of light. So, like I said, it was a
I, yeah, I like in my head, it's it's aliens, but in Twilight. Like I'm sure that's not the case, but in my head, that's what it is.
I think the book I was just talking about is called Don't Look Back. Yeah, Don't Look Back.
Yeah,
And
don't look back because you got glittery vampires and glowing aliens.
and then she has another set that are I'm drawing the blank. The Centennials. Those are I haven't read all of those. I read some of them, but I typically go for her new adult books because I just feel like she writes those a lot better than her YA books. This one that we just finished reading and Don't Look Back are my two favorites. The YA world that she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely interesting, and I'm glad that you're tossing out her other series. Just because I wonder if this one was part of a series. Because I mean, you were just literally listing off a whole string of them, and I mean that seems to be something that I think this would be like a great lead-in for a series. But it doesn't look like it is on Goodreads.
Her Waking Days are they're standalones, but it's part of the only thing that should really be spoiled is who ends up with who, obviously, and minor little things that happened that were dramatic in the book. But they are considered, I think, standalones. But
Yeah, and it looks like this one's a standalone too.
yeah, this is close to her writing for new adults, and I think that's why I really like it. And it shows how it also shows my well for me because I read a lot of her books your growth as a reader because like I said if I was to go back and reread the Obsidian I know I wouldn't like those and lately I have been into a lot of new adult writing and I really love this one and it's so similar and close to what I have been reading but it's a YA book so like you said it is a good way to branch out if you're trying to get out
Go
of
one
YA.
way or the other.
Yeah, so I like that and it's
And I
just
will say this that's really to me a fantastic thing about this book is you don't think about, you know, you don't necessarily think about it being a transition between the two genres, but this one really is. Like when you think of young adult, you very much think of teens reading it. When you think of adult, you very much think of adults reading it. But this is a fantastic book to if you're interested in getting into teenage level books, this is a great way to do it. If you're trying to get more into adult books, this is a great book to kind of get you started in that.
yeah it is and I can really appreciate that because I have a lot of teens that come in, and believe it or not, like when I was a teen, paranormal was the thing.
Oh my
Paranormal
god,
was,
yeah, like I just barely missed the paranormal bubble, but just ever so slightly by like a year.
yeah, and it's just like that was the thing, and I see a lot more now going for things like this, and I guess because it's the changing of times, they want things that they can relate to, things that are real. I personally read to escape, so I don't want to read anything real. I have to be in the mood to read something like this. Really, because I love paranormals, and I love the supernatural. I love reading about those. But this is what I see that they always go for, and so I'm constantly trying to research and find YA contemporaries because all most of the contemporaries I do read are new adult, and some of them aren't for that particular age
Like
group.
really not for that age. Like the book that
Right.
I referenced earlier, Beautiful Oblivion, I would not send that home with a teenager.
Not at all. But they don't
I mean,
really.
it was a good book, and I definitely see similarities between this book and that book, like in character stuff and just situations. But that book is definitely an adult book.
Right. It's just yeah. I wouldn't. Those was I reading? No, wouldn't do that. But I have been looking, researching, and looking up books to add to the collection so they can have it because that other phase is just fading out. They don't really want those anymore. They want hard, concrete stuff that is relatable, that's real, and you can use this book like books like this, you can use it as a self-help book. I was talking to another author and she was saying how a lot of adults prefer nonfiction or self-help books, and I was saying fiction can be self-help. It may not be the exact same situation that you're going through, and it may not even be as real, but the situation that they're in is real. And you can take inspiration or encouragement from that, even though it is fiction. And a teen could be reading this story, suffering from the same thing, and don't really want to talk to anybody else about it. And they see this, and they may draw just a little bit of encouragement, or, you know, something to kind of push them. Okay, I need to talk about this, and that's just the beauty of reading. Period. You pick different people draw different things from different types of books. So if you don't really have to go for self help or nonfiction unless that's what you prefer. But you can find something you can take away from something from all different types of books and all different types of genres. In my opinion.
Well, and, to me, like that's kind of the great thing about fiction is, especially when you're seeing characters similar to yourself, and and that's a big thing anymore is making sure that there are characters like people out there that are getting represented, whether we're reading The Long Journey to the Small Angry Planet or reading Beautiful Oblivion and the Romance Reader's Guide. Like the romances with all the other stuff that's going on. Like people want to, they want to see characters like themselves. And I think this book did that well as well. Like they have, basically the foster care system. And the book showed a dark, ugly side of the foster care system. And I do just want to mention there are good fosters out there as well. Like there are, like you remember the ABC Family Show? Because I'm going to date myself for a second. The Fosters, like that was a family trying to do it right. And I mean, people. There are people out there that are trying to actually take care of children that are out there needing homes, but then you get the ones that are just doing it for the money and should never be anywhere near children.
Right. And it does flashbacks of when they were living in the foster home, and he was trying to abuse Mallory, and Ryder stood in to take the beating or the sexual abuse, because I think his friend, he mentioned that his friends, the foster that friends was there was trying to get him, but they were also drunk to even catch him, and he went through a lot, trying to protect Mallory, and if he wasn't there, God knows what happened to Mallory, and how she got the burns. Ryder had brought her this doll, and I think what happened was Ryder didn't really stand up to him. He just asked him what they were going to eat for dinner, and the foster that punched Ryder in the nose and threw him outside in the snow because it was cold and snowing out there, and he took Mallory's doll that Ryder brought her and threw it in the furnace, and she went and got it. And I think that's how she got the burns on her. But he was horrible, and then his wife was also on drugs, and she was using alcohol, and it was just so sad because Mallory was trying to get to her, and she was trying to wake her up, and find out later on that she actually was dead the whole time in the house. And the relationship between the foster mom and the foster dad, it wasn't anything even. It was so sickening because he didn't even know that his wife was dead in the house, and it really showed the horrible, ugly side of foster care system and how there are people out there like that, and sometimes we forget, and
Or I don't know how much we forget because, we see things like the fosters and we want to think that everybody in the foster care system is like that, and how much of it is, you know, you and I, like, I don't deal with that a lot. I work with adults, so I mean, I don't actually have to be confronted by stuff like that.
yeah. And I work with teens, and the area that I work in, you know you can see that those kids go through things, and it's just like I have a weed, and I always like joke with them if they're acting up in the library. I'll say, I'll take the weed from you, and the weed is their life. I'm telling you, it's their life. They love that weed, but it breaks my heart because just that simple thing. for someone else, like, okay, we have a we at home. Those kids don't have a we at home, and it's just we don't realize how fortunate we really are. And stories like this, even though it's fiction, can still ground you and make you realize that there are still, like Mallory described, monsters in hell out there. They're here, not in hell. They're here. They're walking among us. And
I mean, in some level, they are us. I mean, not like you and me, but
yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, it's just it's sad, and I don't know. I really appreciate this. Like I'm saying, this book is still with me, and it's just so. It's like a gush, and I'm gushing over, and I can't even get my thoughts right with it because I just loved it so much.
and this is what we were reading over Thanksgiving, everybody.
And I started this one early too, so good.
Like you were so excited about this.
Yes, and I owned it. I bought it when it came out, but I never read it. It was just sitting on my Kindle
Yeah,
for a
and
while.
I was doing that for a few of the books as well. Like I was literally at my bookshelves going, "What do I own this newer book?" So I don't have to like, if it's a new book, I don't have to track it down at the library and take it from a patron, and I don't have to worry about buying it.
Yeah, it's just I'm glad I read it, and it came right when I was going through a slump. And when I'm in a slump, the genre I go to the most is contemporary. I don't know why, but I feel like the noodle contemporary is so easy to read. It's fast paced. This one, however, is not. It's a lot going on, and this is a
You have to keep track of so much in this book.
yeah, it's a lot going on. It's not a book to be read lightly. It's like I said, it is long, but after you finish reading it, you're gonna be like, okay, I can see why it was this long because like, these characters, it's not something to just. They had to have some growth, and I appreciate that when you got to the ending, they still were trying to get help. They weren't just done or you know.
Yeah, and I will say this: um, Jennifer Armentrout dealt with mental health stuff so much better than the author of the last book did. Like so much better.
Yeah, and
Like I was so angry. Like I was livid coming into like, and I'd even started the book at the beginning of October and was like, what we're talking about, like this, like I could not be mad at that book.
yeah, I think because like the majority of books that we read, it had trigger warnings like this, and I think this is the best one that handled it right and wrote it right and took time with it and really wasn't looking for a sap story, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I have to agree on some level. I think that this one handled it the best. I think other granted other books dealt with different things like abuse and mental health stuff and just everything that goes along with that. Well, this one dealt with it the best. I think other books that we read dealt with it well. Like I keep going back to these two. Romance Reader's Guide to Life. I think did it well, and it had somebody that was overcoming. I was somebody that did, was an abusive person. It had then you had Beautiful Oblivion, who had just all sorts of crazy stuff going on, and you had you know characters helping each other out and trying to make their lives right after going through this stuff. And like it shows you what could happen and try to handle everything in a good manner. This one just like you said did it the best.
Yeah, I think when we read One of Us is Lying too, that was the only other high school setting that we read, wasn't it? I think it was.
Yeah, I want to say I forget what last month's book was. Was last month's book One of Us is Lying? Where
No,
they're
that
in
was
the mental.
way back. It's a couple months back.
Yeah, okay. Because I kind of like that one's high school set, but the one for October was high schoolers in essentially that were being institutionalized because of stuff that was going on with them. And because families didn't want to deal with what was going on with them.
Yeah. What? I can't. Dreamfall. That was the name of the
Yes,
book.
Dreamfall.
Yeah.
This is how angry I was at that book that I just completely blocked out so much of it.
You didn't even finish it. I think I read about 20
Like,
books.
that's how mad I was. I just couldn't finish that book because I was like, "You're wrong. You're just completely and utterly wrong for this book."
And like I think I mean I enjoyed it, but it's not resonating with me like this one is. Like I will remember this book next month. And the next one, I really don't remember what happened in Dreamfall at all. And I've read books by the author before. Actually,
Yeah,
there are three
it.
of my
I mean,
favorites.
I feel like I'm gonna remember Dreamfall, but not for good reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, but there's part of me, there's a little part of me that loves having books like that in my life where it makes you mad and it's just a horrible book and it gets that kind of reaction from you because then you go in and go, don't read this book and this is why. Because I mean, that sticks with you a little bit too.
Yeah. Like I said, I didn't even really. All I remember is the kids suffer from a severe case of insomnia, and they're living their worst nightmares. But that's really all I remember. I mean, I did like it. It just wasn't one of those that just is going to stick with me forever, like this one is. And I will probably reread this book. I hardly ever do rereads. I have to be in a really, really, really mood to reread and a really, really big reading slump. But I can really see myself rereading this story, and I'm pretty sure if I reread it, I'm going to catch something that I missed the first time, and I'm going to like it even more.
Yeah. And by the way, sorry for the cough. I've been kind of going through some respiratory stuff lately.
It's fine the way the weather is here. I wouldn't even be surprised. It's hot and cold. It was snowing, and then the next day it was literally hot.
Oh my god, the snow was fantastic. Like, people down here talk about how it doesn't snow in North Louisiana in November, and a couple people at Maine were like, "We don't know how to deal." I'm like, "You just go out and go to work. Like, this is what you I'm like. It's half an inch, guys. You'll be fine."
We're not used to that. All of that.
Yeah,
And
and
like,
like I'm going home. Like, come on, guys, where's the snow? It's Thanksgiving. Come on, bring it. And of course, it didn't snow. But I'm like, guys, like this is what happens in Ohio. It snows in November. Like, it doesn't necessarily stay on the ground, but like it's not uncommon to see snow before on Thanksgiving.
we hardly. I don't remember it snowing in November here. It normally snows in January, February. That type of thing when it freezes, but it never snows here.
Someday you can tell your kids about that one time it snowed in November.
Yes, because I don't think it's gonna happen again. So,
And
but
you're gonna be like, go ask Aunt Lauren. She will tell you all about it and how nobody knew how to deal with it.
because we shut down and it rolls our ice here.
Oh, I'm not even kidding. That morning I woke up, saw snow on the ground, like crap, town's gonna close. Like everything's just gonna close down.
Yeah, we don't know how to deal with that here. We don't. But yeah, this I'm still just reeling from this book. This is probably my favorite book out of all the ones that you read all year. This is my favorite one.
You know, the weird thing, my favorite is probably that Amish market book that we read,
Mm,
just because it's so different from everything else that we've read over the years.
it is. It's very different from what I tried it. I decided it's not for me. Promise one. Not for me. But yeah, this is my favorite one. And like I don't think I'm being biased because she's my favorite author, but because if I didn't like it, I would say I didn't like it. But I really love this book a lot.
Like you're just so happy and giddy right now about the
I,
book.
I was watching another Booker's video, and she calls it Gush videos, and she was talking about how difficult it is to put your point across when you really, really love a book because you can't get your thoughts and stuff together. Versus, as if you didn't like the book, you can say, okay, I didn't like the book because of this, 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 and this. It should have been done like this, and this, and this. And I'm like, that makes sense. Thinking
It
about it,
does.
it does. And it's just so much I want to talk about with the book, but I can't even like.
Articulate it.
This is so like I don't know. Like you said, it's for whatever person that likes this type of genre. But I would recommend try it if you're not into it. Just try it because it's good. The only thing that I think will turn people away is because of how long it is.
Yeah.
I think that'd be the main thing. Um, and then some chapters do drag out, but I really feel like once you get to the end, you're gonna appreciate those. And
Yeah.
you're gonna, yeah, I do. I just read it. Read, get the book and read it, and read it right. Cause Lauren didn't read it right.
Text Aaron or text Ericka for the Sparks notes so that way you know what to do.
Yes, I'll give you chapter outline. Okay, this is what you need to look for. This is how you gotta.
Discussion questions, the whole nine.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. You have to.
Clearly how I should have read the book this month. Ericka, what am I supposed to be looking for in this? What are we discussing?
I would gladly give you what you're supposed to be looking for.
What I'm supposed to know when I'm coming to job in the librarians for November. Lauren, this is what we're doing. Just get on board with it.
Yeah, I was highlighting as I went because I read it on my phone. And I'm like, oh, and this one has some good quotes. Like, it has good quotes, like good memorable quotes. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I can see that. Yes. Okay. I'm just
Sorry
fangirling.
guys, I got my copy from the library, so I'm like pulling up Goodreads to like find stuff. Let's see here, quotes. The app doesn't give you the quotes.
It had
Yeah.
I'm waiting for the app. Let me see if I can pull it up on my phone because I highlighted a good chunk.
Oh, this is amazing. So I got onto her Goodreads page. It says, "Hey guys, please note I don't send out ARCs for review. If you're interested in reviewing a book of mine before release date, please contact the appropriate publisher. I also do not check my Goodreads email. To email me, please use the below address." I like her.
Yeah, I follow
Like
her
she,
too. It's just
like
yeah.
that's ballsy in this day and age.
Like one of my favorite quotes is "Forever was something we all took for granted, but that's the problem." I like that one. Let me
Hmm.
see.
Clearly, where they got the title for the book from.
Yeah, it says you have the power over that. People can say crap. They can think whatever they want, but you control how you feel about it.
Hmm.
It's a lot of that that's going on within the story because there's a lot of self doubt with each other, and they both give each other good advice, but they never take the advice.
You know,
Especially
like you do when you're a teenager.
yeah, especially
You
Ryder
just
because Ryder said that last quote that I said, and he was because Mallory was saying she's not good enough, she doesn't like how she is, and Ryder was telling her things like that, and then when it was Ryder's turn, to be in that rut, Valerie was telling him things like that, and he wasn't trying to listen to that, and so it's a lot of that going on. This is a if you want good quotes, read the book and read it right.
don't read it like Lauren did.
So that's really all I got. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
could talk more, but I don't
I
want to bore you.
honestly I didn't have much to contribute to tonight because I was just. I mean, it is a quotable book. My big thoughts were just basically commending the author, and yeah, I mean, I just really wanted to commend the author and what she did with the book, and then Ericka kind of went off on a tangent, on her own thing, not even a tangent, just like a whole thing with the book. And I'm like, okay, like I can at least comment on this stuff.
Yeah, I could talk about it some more, but I don't want to bore you guys with that because I loved it. I love it.
I hope you enjoyed Erica's gush video.
'Cause that's exactly what it was. A gush. I didn't really have any negative thing about it that really like took away from the story. I didn't really have it. So I think I may go back and change my rating to 5 because I did 4. I rated it right when I got to the 85% mark, and then after I finished it, I was like. because I did it like that because of the how long it is, and then after I finished it, I was like, so I realized it, and I said, no, I need to change this back, change it the rating, because I appreciate that it was long like that.
Yeah, like I said, it felt in some ways it felt unnecessarily long, but at the same time, you kind of realize it had to be that long.
Yeah, so I'm going to change mine. So mine's is 5 stars.
But yeah,
So, well, yeah, that's all I got. Let's just want to hear me
yeah.
talk gush about it some more. I can. But yeah, that's what I have there.
Yeah. Well, I guess we should probably also mention that after this year, I am going to be moving on from Java and the Librarians. There's a, I mean, it's just time. Like it's one of those things I kind of got a gut feeling about. Like, it's time to move on.
Yeah, and I enjoyed this a lot. I'm still going to do the show. Actually, because we don't do anything in December. But if you follow
Yeah.
me on Twitter, I've been very active on Twitter, and there's actually um another librarian that I befriended on Twitter, and she was thinking about joining the show as well because I didn't know if I wanted to keep it up or not because
Yeah.
work
You were
schedule.
also like last month when we were talking about it, you were also talking about having that gut feeling of I
Yes,
might be ready to move on.
yeah, but I thought about it, and I can use this opportunity to try something different as well. I would like to do more discussion things on different, not just reading, like having a book of the month, but like discussion topics of such
Yeah.
like that. But we'll see between now and January how it all falls out. We may continue to show and we may not. But if you follow me, Twitter is the best way because I'm constantly on Twitter a lot more than I am with Facebook. So
Yeah,
that's
and if I hear anything about the show, guys, I mean, I'm friends with Ericka in real life as well, so if I hear anything, I can always mention it in the buddy read group.
yep. But I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving and ate a lot. I did.
Yep.
um. Also, I do have one more announcement to make. I'm going to do the Christmas bingo. If you look at my 2 videos before this one, review before this one, I did an announcement, and there is also a giveaway as my Christmas present to you guys. The $25 Amazon gift card if you live in the US, and if you're international, you have up to $25 as long as the book depository ships out to you. So it's open for everybody, and the giveaway starts December 1st through the 22nd. So, but I have all the things within that video, so you can look at that video if you want to check it out. Oh, but I hope you guys have a good holiday, whatever you're celebrating between now and next year. And do you have anything, Lauren?
Um, well, stay safe over the holidays as well, because there are a lot of crazies out there.
Yes, so thank you guys for joining us, and hopefully, don't know yet. We'll see you all. Well, I'll see you all in January.
And
Bye.
I'll still be around doing, stuff as well. So, but good luck in the new year to everybody.
Yeah, good luck. Thank you all.